Welcome back. And now it's chapter 3. Our new life begins. At last I was going home from hospital. Ange picked me up, and as we drove home, I told Ange that I wanted to go straight to Axtale, where the accident had occurred. I had been dreading the moment, but I knew that I had to face what had happened, and to do that, I had to go back to the crash scene. When we pulled up, I was already shaking. I guardedly stepped out of the car, and on my crutches, I hobbled towards the crash site. There was a cross surrounded by flowers. Emma's name was on the cross. The tears came. I was crying and shaking uncontrollably. The trauma was rearing its head again. The thought of an 18-year-old girl being killed was crippling me. My heart was breaking for her mum and her dad. The whole situation was incredibly distressing. I could only cope with spending the shortest time there, just long enough to say a prayer for Emma. I had to leave. The memories of the crash and the thoughts of poor Emma were too much to bear. Back home, I waited for our girls to come home from school, and then for Michelle to come home from her hairdressing salon where she worked. When they were all home, we sat down to dinner, and at that very moment, I appreciated so much that we were all together as a family. Things could have been so different. After dinner, I sat in the chair, and Ange put on the jug. So began my new life, our new life. I was home and with my family again. But life changed. That car crash wasn't just a car crash. It changed lives, so many lives. I now owned the crippling reality that my life would never be the same again. I started my road to recovery with a structured rehabilitation program, including physiotherapy and hydrotherapy 3 times a week. There were also multiple specialist appointments, with 4 specialists that covered specific fields. I didn't realise how difficult walking and exercising injured muscles and tendons in a hydro pool could be. I had to accept the harsh reality that one day you can be running around playing cricket, feeling fit and healthy. The next day, you need to muster all your strength and courage to walk just 5 metres in a pool. This strict program of hydrotherapy would continue for 5 months. Working hard at my fitness was nothing new to me. I had been a competitive sportsman, so I was prepared to do whatever it took to make a full recovery. Physiotherapy was challenging because I now had limited movement over much of my body. I found that using the crutches added to the pain I was experiencing in my back. Although I was already under the care of 4 specialists, Ange had made an appointment with Dr. Dennis O'Connor, our general practitioner. When Dennis first saw me after the crash, he examined me thoroughly. I had coached Dennis at Strathdale Maristians Cricket Club, and we had a great relationship. I was pleased he would be overseeing my progress. I was told to throw the crutches away 3 weeks after the crash. My foot supposedly had sufficient time to heal. I gave the crutches back to the hospital and, unsteadily and painfully, made my way without their support. My foot was still killing me, and it felt like it was broken. After church the following Sunday, I stepped out of the car and stood on a small stone. The stone under my foot caused me to collapse to the ground in a heap. The pain was unbearable. As I slowly got up, Ange asked if I was all right and exclaimed, "You are as white as a sheet." My response was short and direct. "This bloody foot is broken, and I don't care what they say. It's broken, and it's always been broken." The next day I went to see Dennis, my GP, and told him I had a broken foot and wanted it x-rayed again. He sent me for a scan rather than an x-ray, and that afternoon he telephoned me and said, "I have some good news and some bad news. Which do you want first?" I could do with some good news for a change. Could I have that first? Okay, the good news is that you were right. The bad news is that the plate bone is broken underneath your foot. Given the nature of the break, they recommended it be screwed to repair the bone, but the specialist did give me an alternative. If I could continue to put up with the pain, I could just leave it, and it would eventually heal as it had already been healing over the month. Choosing to leave it to heal itself over time wasn't a hard decision for me to make. The truth was, I couldn't bear the thought of heading back for another surgery, especially if it could be avoided. So, it can heal itself. Once again, I thank you so much for joining me, and I do hope that these small readings from the chapters of Carmen's Legacy is of some benefit to you. Stay safe, and I'll see you tomorrow.